In Canada, there is no right to pre-certification discovery. This stands in stark contrast to U.S. class actions where there is extensive pre-certification disclosure.
Generally, in Canada, where parties seek discovery prior to certification, they need special permission from the court. This kind of permission is rare.
And even then, if production is ordered, it will be limited to the issues relevant to the motion for certification, not the kind of far-reaching discovery that precedes a trial in the merits.
The relevant procedures also vary between Canadian jurisdictions. In Quebec, there's no right of pre-certification discovery. The process for certification is highly streamlined. The plaintiff doesn't even file an affidavit in support of his certification motion. If defendant wants to put forward evidence to resist certification, it needs to ask the court's permission to do so. The evidence needs to be specific and narrow, and the plaintiff may be able to cross-examine all that evidence only.
In British Columbia, in contrast to other provinces, there is a positive disclosure requirement. Parties to a certification hearing are required to put in affidavit evidence. In the affidavits, the parties are required to attest that they have set out all facts that are material to the certification application.
The provinces also take different approaches to cross-examination on affidavit evidence. Alberta has a defense-friendly regime, where a defendant has a right to cross-examine on the plaintiff's affidavits prior to determining whether the defendant will put in its own evidence.
In Ontario, there is a right to cross-examine on an affidavit, but the defendant must file its own evidence if it's going to do so prior to any cross-examinations taking place.
These procedural differences result in different strategic choices for defendants. For example, other than in respect of evidence about the size of the class, which is required, a defendant to a proposed class action in Ontario can decide whether to put in evidence, and by extension, whether to open itself up to cross-examination.
In contrast, in British Columbia, there is a positive disclosure requirement and no automatic right of cross-examination on affidavits. Instead, a party needs permission from the court to cross-examine on affidavits.
So, although pre-certification discovery in Canada is very rare, there are still points of procedure across the provinces relating to disclosure that can be leveraged in a particular case.
For example, in Ontario, our team has had some success relying on documents incorporated by reference into the plaintiff's pleading to assist in defeating the plaintiff's motion for certification.